Get your weekly dose.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Life Upgrade podcast show, and this is your host, Fulfillment Obi. Today we'll be talking about wealth, the game of wealth. In this podcast, we've been really focused on greatness, success, and how you can improve and upgrade your life. Most of you have been asking, well, I can't really become successful in life without money. I need to become more wealthy so that I can achieve my goals and fulfill my destiny. Well, I've looked into these things and I've done a lot of research, and I'm going to present to you the formula, the blueprints to becoming more wealthy. This simple principle is why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. If you understand these things, it will be very possible and easy for you to build wealth. So without wasting much time, let's talk about the game of wealth. So let's dive right in.
Welcome on board. Before we take off, please don't forget to turn up the volume. Here we go!
Life is like a game of chess. It is incredibly complex, and what's even worse is that it's just like a four-dimensional chess in a three-dimensional world. That means a lot of people are bound to fail. They will fail in life, fail to gather the resources they need to achieve their goals and their dream. They will die poor and never make anything out of life. Wealth also is a game. Those who have mastered the game amass more and more wealth for themselves. Those who don't know how to play this game get cut out, removed, and marginalized, and are forced to settle for little. These have shown us that luck cannot make or sustain wealth. Those who get lucky find it very difficult to sustain their wealth. We've seen this played out again and again in history. This to show that if you are given $1 million or $1 billion today, there is no guarantee that wealth will stay with you. So you need to learn and know how to play this game so that you will be able to tap into the vast resources of the world and walk by your destiny to achieve those things that are very important to you. So right now I'm going to teach you how to play and to master the game of wealth. To do this, we have to look at someone in history who stood out, who was a business magnate, who rose from nothing to becoming so great that he controlled the full oil industry. His name is John D. Rockefeller. This fellow was so great that all the oil industries in the US was controlled by him. This was someone who was born to a poor family. He wasn't born with a silver spoon. So we're going to study his life to know how he was able to play this game to the fullest. So once again, it's story time, but I must warn you, this story is going to be very long because we really need to go deep down to the roots. Most of these things, you're not going to find them anywhere. So I've done a lot of research to find out how he was able to amass such wealth. John D. Rockefeller was born in 1839 and he lived to 1937. Was born in Richford, New York. His net worth is about $1 billion. Wow, that's really great. And he was the one who founded the University of Chicago, the Rockefeller University. He founded the establishment of the Central Philippine University. He is a devoted Baptist and supported many church-based institutions. He controlled most of the oil industries in the US as of that time. So he built a corporation and he controlled most of the rail station that was used to distribute oil. But he really majored on kerosene because it was used as a source of light in those times. But that's just a brief overview about his life. We're going to go really deep and see how he was able to build his life from nothing to becoming somebody in life. So if this episode is getting too long, we might have to break it into two. So just follow me so you will learn. John D. Rockefeller was only 18 years old when he started working as a bookkeeper at a fairly large produce shipping firm named Hewitt and Tuttle. His first business partner was Maury B. Clark. Together they started a company called Clark and Rockefeller. In the first year, Clark and Rockefeller was a thriving enterprise. Rockefeller would go on to bury himself in his work, and this became a threat for Maurice B. Clark. In 1862, a young Englishman named Samuel Andrew, who is an inventor and entrepreneur, visited their office and pleaded with Clark to become a partner in his oil business. He bragged about the limitless potential in oil and the numerous products that can be made from them. Clark refused at first, but with much pressure from Rockefeller, he agreed. In 1863, they formed a new refining business, and that same year, 20 other sprouted in the same Cleveland, and the competition was fierce. Rockefeller would spend hours and hours in the refinery working to ensure that the business doesn't fold up. Rockefeller was always in a bid to expand the business, and Clark never agreed and wanted to dissolve the business deal, and this led to the business being auctioned, and Rockefeller bought the business for $72,500. In the refinery business were people with resources such as Colonel Oliver H. Payne, but towards the end of 1871, Payne began to hear rumor about some kind of agreement between refinery owners and the largest railroad. The railroad will lower shipping rate for those who join their secret organization. Those outside this organization would risk their rate rising, making business difficult or mostly impossible. But the person behind this agreement was no other person than John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller has expanded the two refinery in Cleveland and renamed the company to Standard Oil. And Standard Oil was the largest refinery business in Cleveland and the US, and competition still remained very stiff. Now, let's talk about how he was able to handle his competitors. And so Rockefeller arranged a private meeting between him and Payne. Rockefeller confided in him about the Southern Improvement Company, SIC, and claimed it was the railroad that came up with such idea to increase their profit rate or their profit margin. So he offered to buy Payne's refinery at a very high price and give Payne a hefty amount of the Standard Oil stock. When Payne would disagree to this, Rockefeller showed Payne Standard Oil ledger and told him it would be impossible to beat Standard Oil as their profits were far higher. At last, Payne agreed. With this same negotiation technique, he bought J.W. Fawcett's refinery and other major refinery in town. What he used in pitching them was that Cleveland was far from oil producing town, and refiners had to pay a lot for oil to be shipped to them. And with the fluctuation in price, many of them would go bankrupt. So he was offering them a way out. The bad news was that there was never an SIC, and the railroad never offered to lower the prices for those people who would join the secret organization. It was just a strategy for him to buy more refinery and take over the oil business, and this was called the Cleveland Massacre. In years to come, he applied the same tactics to refineries in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York, and by 1875, Rockefeller controlled all the major refinery centers in the United States and virtually monopolized the worldwide market for kerosene. Such power gave him too much power over the railroad rates. But to make matter worse, he began dominating the pipeline business. He had gained control over several railroads that helped ship oil to the East Coast. Now, let's talk about how he was able to handle the enemies to his business. The first enemy he encountered was Tom Scott, who was the president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. He decided to take down Rockefeller by building his own pipeline and well-connected railroad to Pennsylvania. But Rockefeller's response totally shocked him. Rockefeller stopped all oil shipping to Pennsylvania, giving Scott no oil to ship. To make matter worse, he made it impossible for Scott to get lubricating oil for his train and his wheel. At last, Scott had no option but to sell to Rockefeller his lion's share of his refinery, storage tank, steamship, and he later died a year after from stroke. Another man who tried to bring down his monopoly was Brian Benson, who was the founder of the Tidewater Pipeline Company. He decided to destroy his monopoly by developing long pipelines that will run to the East Coast, but it wouldn't be easy for him because Rockefeller have already developed a plan to stop him. So Benson named his enterprise the Tidewater Pipeline Company. For such construction to happen, he needed to transport heavy material to construction sites. But rails, tank, and pipelines has already been bought by Rockefeller, so it soared his cost and wasted his time. Rockefeller went on to buy all major land that the pipeline would have to follow, and Benson was forced to pass his pipeline through mountains and through hills. At the end, Benson had to sell his Tidewater Pipeline Company to Standard Oil. In the 1880, demand for kerosene to light up houses exploded, and the market was controlled by Standard Oil. Standard Oil has storage tank in all the major cities, and they went on to sell lamps stoves and heaters to customers, putting local businessmen out of business, and local retailers started to grumble because of the monopoly that Standard Oil have all over the country. Everyone who ever tried to sell their own oil could not, because the market was already controlled by Standard Oil. This monopoly was later dissolved many years after Rockefeller stepped down as the head of Standard Oil, but he totally beat the game. Okay, before we move further, let's talk about our sponsor. This episode was proudly sponsored by Save a Child Project. Save a Child Project is aimed at reducing illiteracy and school dropout among children living in remote communities. The goal is to donate 1,000 notebooks to those children every month. You can partner with this organization today to transform the life of many children across the globe. So you can support with $10 to $15. Doing this will help a lot of children gain access to basic school materials. So to connect to them, you can get to them through their mail. Their email will be in the description, or you can donate through their donation link, which will be in the description below. So what can we learn from this story? John D. Rockefeller was the master at the game of wealth. He was able to exploit every opportunity that come by him, negotiate his way out of any deal, crush competitors, take over the market, build allies, and break through every opposition. These were the kind of qualities that set him apart from the rest. Many of these qualities gave him an edge at mastering the game of wealth. Though I would not advise that we'll be manipulative or deceptive as him, but we can impute these qualities into our life and master the game of wealth. Now, when we look through the Bible, we find out that many of the people or the characters that were very wealthy follow the same principle. Solomon, Abraham, Job, all these people had these things in them, if we really go down in the history. So in the part 2 of this podcast that I'll be releasing 5 days from now, we'll talk about these things in details. You will understand how to master and to play the game. We'll exploit the most important stuff from this story, and I will take you through step-by-step guide on what you can do to enable you build wealth from scratch. With that being said, if you're not yet a subscriber, please subscribe now, so when the episode is out, you will not miss out. If you found this episode interesting, why not share it for others to listen? We also love you to donate to this podcast, so that we'll be able to keep this going. Or if you have a product, a digital product, a service, or anything you want to advertise or promote, you can send us a message. The link will be in the description, and we are open for sponsorship. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have a wonderful day ahead.
This week's episode has come to an end, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.